stopped running and just turned around and said, all of this thing is a setup. The concerts that musicians go to where we don't, we're not thinking about the fact that we're not getting the lion's share of the taxes because we make money on tour, and then tour has girls, and tour has the singing. Good champ. Floyd Mayweather is such a hero of mine and so excellent because he is a champion, right? But then also, he wasn't afraid to say, I do my deals, I make my money. And what I like is, he didn't let the older system tell him how to spend his money, how to show his money. It was up to him, because he's his own king. God is the king of us all, but he's his own king. And a lot of times in America, we haven't seen kings. We haven't seen the royal blood in our bone marrow and the way it comes through. Now we can show it in rap and the way we put our chains on, the way we dress, we show in the way we play ball and things like that. But it's another frontier to being a king.
There's also something where you feel diminished in the fact that you know that your money is being stolen.
Makes you stress, gives you anxiety.
It eats at you.
It could drive you crazy.
So I still don't understand how they talk to you about vacation. I wish I knew better back then. Because I would have just had to exercise. I would say, whatever he's doing, you can't do. You have to understand that different people have different amounts of energy. You have this ability to have these really all-encompassing thoughts where you have these long trains of ideas and thoughts. It's all good. This is a powerful thing. I don't think it's a negative thing at all.
I mean, some of it comes to, I'm dealing with issues that are not just black and racial issues. I'm dealing with maverick, innovator issues.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with, just as many, issues where there's walls and, invisible walls and invisible chains as, Michael Jackson dealt with as a black musician or urban musician, where he had to go and, which is the Eastwick, to any change, movies forever. I'm dealing with
my rollie don't tick tock, it's just glide.
About history, it's like the movie is here, like this part, us talking right now, maybe a scene from my life's movie. Like Tesla was, a white guy that was a ladies' man, and he would be going to all the like fancy events and everything. Instead, that's a challenge for me is, I designed this thing, this called the Phone Runner, and we built a factory for it in Cody. We built these 25 minutes. And what I'm saying about design is talking to one of the awesome designers that we just got over at Yeezy. We got like this amazing crew. We got guys at Nike. One of these guys that I was trying to hire for 2 years, he had to go surf for a year. And then he does his CAD drawing. I've been saying I want to get rid of laces, and we still have shoes we sell with laces because it's a popular shoe and people love this shoe, and it hurts me. I feel like Steve Jobs trying to like remove buttons off the side of the next Apple. And one of the things that's interesting about this is you look at most sneakers. If you look at you guys' sneakers right now, you have a tongue, and it goes this direction. This is one of the innovations. This is one of the reasons why this is one of the most important sneaker designs. Is this goes this way because it's ergonomic. And I remember putting it on and being comfortable with wearing it so close to my way like a fits with my jeans. And I remember having to make sneakers that fit my jeans, and that was a big thing. That's when we grow up. Nice jeans and Jordans or something like that. So this also, I feel that just the process, when I design like a 3-year-old, I have to go to my gut. I have to get it focusing what I'm doing. Like some Jedi, if I can grab that water ball, I wouldn't have to move. I just did it right now. So it's just a magnet. Oh, yeah, then you'd be like, yo, this dude's a wizard. So for me, I'm gonna make this shoe be $20. And money is a bill, so that means it will be eventually free. So he lives in a DR and he says, anything that you put in the ground grows. So why do people still go hungry? And I like that in theory, but I was like, man, it's really hard. But man, I think go hungry if I have some food. But back in the days, we had that skill set. Now we're losing these skill sets that actually sustain us. So with this, and I love giving you guys my riffs. I'm like a human version of Instagram. If you look at Instagram, you look at, you're looking like 100 images a day. Well, I've got millions of images in my mind, and the majority of them haven't been realized yet. There's some images that are from my memory, but I got this whole, the future that's in my mind that has to be brought. So this is, we talk about hype culture and shoes being sold on the resale market, and Yeezy lives in that place. But I don't like the idea. I don't love the idea that some of the reason why people buy it is just hype culture. I got this, or I got this cool way. I'm an essentialist. I'm a minimalist, and I have to bring fully A to Z, our existence version, to existence like design in shopping centers, but even design for utopian communities. We're like, oh, we're just cool with the shopping center. And these ideas that he had never got brought to fruition. A little bit like Disney kind of thing, Empire Center. I'm like, but this next frontier of these communities and villages of happiness are way closer to a Kenyan village than it is to like a gated community.
This version of hype culture. If people get into your product, they're going to get into your ideas. All these ideas that you have will become a part of their thought process. They'll start thinking about it. They go, hey, he's got some great points. If people really get into your shit, so I think the courage to have all these bold ideas and to implement them and to do all these different things. That bothers me. There's a lot of people that don't have that kind of courage. They are strapped by anxiety, and they see a guy like you, and they like try to find flaws. They try to find instead of looking at I don't see it. I've never seen that guy.
There's people like Tesla, and there's people who, there's a person who killed down Tesla for making that like Tesla. Yeah, person that's a conversation. I mean,
it enhances life.
yeah, it enhances the quality of life is better. But look at the music. Look at what the information we're putting in it. Like I feel bad when I hear rap songs. I feel bad even the stuff that I just recently put out. I was like, how you listen to Lames? They the imitation, man. Like why is that's just I don't like that message because we're all the imitation of our parents and imitation of this, imitation and then imitation of Adam and Eve. We're all the next versions. It should be the V2, V3. Like, Michelangelo and Da Vinci have the same teacher. There's times where my people work with me or say go out and do something that I wanted to do, and then I'm torn because as a man, I'm jealous and I'm proud at the same time. It's like a father-son relationship. Because sometimes when the son goes out and is more successful at things, the father wants to say, that's a good job. But every time the son does something that's a good job, it reminds the father of his failures.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a strong dynamic that's where I have to lean on God to not be like, this prick that's jealous of, people who are innovating or taking, the gold line because we got to realize we're in the relay race of humanity. At a certain point, whoever, what the inventors in the past did was then hand it over to the inventors today and hand it over to the next inventors. Well, the good thing about the walls and the perception and all that is this smaller barrier to entry allows there to be, a Walt Disney and a Steve Jobs and a Henry Ford. So what I'm doing right now, there's a real barrier to entry to do it. Like you can't just do it like how you can just, it's hard for someone to go from, I'm not saying it can't happen, I'm just saying that it's difficult for someone to go from, programming and putting the music out on the internet today to what it was that Michael Jackson had to do. That barrier to entry was so hard for him. I mean, this guy was the leader of the Jackson 5 when he was 5. Like his entire life led up. This is what he focused on. And it was all focused on that. So it made the great Michael Jackson now. I want to do this comparison of Disney, Steve, and Henry Ford. And what easy is, it's really hard to make houses. It's like a corrupt industry also. You got contractors. How many times have you start a house and contractors start overcharging for stuff and the budget ends up being twice the amount and it's twice as long? Look, if you had a relationship, this is why relationships are better currency than money. If you had a relationship with a contractor, if you were part of their family, your house would be done quick. I feel like it's a practical joke on rich people how long houses take to build. I was in the airport and there was a first class line that was super slow and there was a coach area with 8 openings and there was no one in it. And then I hopped out and this other gentleman hopped out with me and went through that line and we went through. But the rich people with the Hermes belts didn't want to lose their position so bad that they would rather wait in the first class line than to have the time back and go through that. Now this gentleman is a surgeon that works on people's hearts through their feet. So it's like that kind of engineer, surgeon, doctor mentality. It's like, yeah, I got money, this, but I'm here to serve, and I have a mentality that I'm not better than the person in English, which is the reason I'm into that when how do you segue into this when I just go into this? Like, I didn't even find the question. What are you thinking over there right now?
There's no reason to worry about it. Yeah. You have this thought. Do you have a rigid process that you organize your day with? Like, how do you seem to have so many different thoughts and so many different things going on simultaneously. Like, how do you organize your day? Do you have ritual? Do you have things?
I drive my children to school. I drive my kids to school. And I stay at school all day. And, you know, I'm in the kitchen, like, working with the top chefs on the planet to create this, you know, these healthy menus, and I'm working with the farmers. So the school that I'm at is also, it's like this new, I don't want to, no disrespect to NASA, I was going to say new NASA, but of humanity. And we're anchoring it around our children. So that's what my day is. And then I also, in the past couple of months, have been going to Atlanta for 2 days a week or 3 days a week because I'm building this 100 say that I'm building. We're building a sound stage, but it was I go back and forth on content. Should I work in content? Should I work in tech? I have all these like website ideas and tech ideas, and some of them like I'll say I'm cursed by tech. Like I'm not, you know, I don't have any curses. Or God lets me break the curses and break the chains, I'd rather say. I don't know if content is my calling, like messaging. Like, let me show you what a future looks like. Let me show you monasteries in the future. Let me show you farms in the future. But we're 20 years past the future. Like, it's 2020. Like, we're supposed to be in the future by 2000. So it's my job to build the future into now. And that's something I struggle with when I talk about the different things that I'm doing, getting like content for Netflix or content for that content. Because I believe we're in the game. We're in like grand and we can terraform. What we can do is be like, if you're a Grand Theft Auto character, just start a redesign the world itself. Like painting his own world. We have this opportunity to make life as fun as these second lives. But if you look at how politics, just general unhappiness, misery, control, the speed that contractors go, the farmers that wouldn't finish the farm, the way we are with each other, is why people feel like, look, everyone's going to go into like this Ready Player One second life. And I believe that our first life can be just as imaginative, and it will be. So that's and I have a bunch of friends that work in the gaming industry. I have friends that work in the content industry, and I'm saying I'm anchoring on real life to make real life as awesome as games, to make real life as awesome as movies.
So,
did I answer the question of my schedule every day?
Yeah, but I mean, you just basically go on what you feel like work. You basically just start your day, you do your stuff with your kids, and then whatever these ideas you have, you just nourish them. You just feed whatever thoughts are in your head.
But what I was expressing on that last was that I do have this challenge. That's where I'm designing. I'm actually designing what I'm doing with my time, saying, should I be even taking a meeting? Like when I take a meeting, this is how I know if it's a good or bad meeting. If someone's talking to me and I just get sleepy, I know that that's not what I should do. But if someone's talking, I'm energized. I like saying the word energized over the word excited, because this is what they do to all of us. They get us excited. And anxiety, they kind of go together. Like someone can say, hey, I got you in the car, and it's across the street. And you get so excited, you run across the street, get hit by a car, trying to run to your new. But if you're energized about having the car, perhaps you look both ways. See, I play this dictionary game with this small website pocket dictionary, and we'll go to a page and say, go to the page with the word help, and we say, highlight all the words you think are positive, and then we talk about afterwards. Why do you think that's positive? So the word help is like it's like a bad leg on a table. You think you can stand on it, but if you stand right there, the table could flip help over. The fourth definition in the word help is to ignore. And it actually makes sense. You know, like if you have a meeting, right, here's the answer when you know the meeting didn't do good. It didn't go well. The person says it then, how can I help? That means they don't want to do nothing. They'll just give you a phone number. You know, the word is to ensure. And then there's a lot of words that end with U-R-E that are very powerful. Future, sure, pure, endure. And that goes into like the rhyme, because I'm literally trying to figure out the video game at all times to see where these things parallel. Like, okay, yeah, so what you're saying. But look at that. Look at the dictionary. Look at these words. I have friends that English is their second or third or eighth language, and they say that English is the hardest language to learn because there's so many words that mean the same thing. It tears me to my core that my daughter has to learn TWO, the difference between TWO, TOO, and TO. I want to just be like, just draw the number 2. Like, just make it like, sometimes I don't know when, you know, the difference. I'm like a terrible speller, and I believe that there's like curriculums that are European curriculums that don't even apply to our genes of, you know, who we are as people, like African descent people. We don't even talk like that. Like, this is the skill set, but I'm still talking white, basically. Like, you'll see like a black pastor, you know, give this amazing like sermon, like marry someone. I was at a wedding, and this guy, they said, wow, he speaks so well. He speaks so white. Like, yeah, that's what the definition of well is.
It's just sounds that you use to communicate ideas.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I bumped into a friend of mine. I actually met him at Givenchy. I wasn't expecting to see. I wasn't expecting to see him. I wasn't expecting to see him. And we're at the first one, and I was like, I didn't use words when I saw him. I like almost communicated in a different language, like a language like joy or happiness. Only 30% of our communication is verbal. That's why the mask just really threw me off, because I can't tell what someone is thinking and feeling. Because many times, people don't say what they're thinking, and I have to decode. But with the mask, I can only, you know, hear what they're saying.
That's the point of social media too, right?
Yes, things are black and white, and things being taken out of context. I mean, that's the reason why people, like, you know, love the show. That they're like, you know, hey, Joe Rogan, we can hear him go into all of these riffs, and we can feel, you know, how I'm looking. You can see my energy. You know what I'm saying to them. So,
And when you see people sitting down having an actual conversation, real conversation.
and a conversation where, you know, somebody that comes on the show, sometimes with reporters, they have like their media, they have like complex. You don't have a complex. You're like, yo, let's first off get this straight. I could whip your ass. I'm Joe Rogan. I'm a professional fighter. Now let's start the conversation. Which I think is another reason, like with Nick Cannon, he's like, man, I married my wife. I did all this. And both of these interviews have been very positive because people aren't carrying something already, like some form of chip on their shoulder, where they gotta like every sentence. Sometimes I talk to reporters, it's like they're saying the thing they wanted to say to this guy in high school who never got to complete the conversation, and then taking it out on me. I'm like,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that have conversations where they want to create a viral moment. That it's not just a conversation. It's almost like you were talking about the Gozu story. It's a formula. Like, let's put those together, we'll make some money. Instead of
toys from Star Wars have not come out first, which would be like, like the Yeezys or something like that. And now it's making the whole like actors, like it's kind of like this. This Mickey Mouse who was super popular because they would get all of this imaginary. I want to point out, being, self-absorbed or the center of your own universe. What's the main character in Star Wars? Well, listen to that last name.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
George Lucas. Yes. He's the main character in Star Wars. He kissed his sister.
Yeah, there's things that appeal, right? There's just things that are attempting to recreate what we're going to like. There's a difference. So it's in music as well, right?
It's coming from my heart and my gut. When it's the most pure, it's coming from God. It's a channel. It's like she had all that skill and then it's actually true. I'm about to say true. Things that are seem like superheroes. Personalities. It's like he's got 3 of these films that are like showing us, hey, we're superheroes. You can believe it. The greatest disable of our abilities, our greatest kryptonite is doubt. Yeah, doubt. Like, why did I, like why did I register so late to run for president? COVID. I remember, like I had the virus, and I was sitting, quarantined in my house, and my cousin texted me about being prepared to run for president, and I just completely put it off to the side because I was like shivering and having a shakes, taking hot showers, and eating soup, and just
How bad
sleeping.
did you have it?
I don't think it was that bad. I think it was a mild case. And it just threw everyone off. It threw everybody's plans off. And then, it was just this calling on my heart. And I remember talking to really elitist, writers. I was trying to avoid saying white supremacists, but like elite, like the liberal elites are like, so, boy, who you gonna vote on? Who are you to run for office, and why would you sign up for office? If you can't even get on ballots, people are saying that to me, and I could get on the ballots. It's like there's black mothers that go into the hospital, and the doctor will tell them that there's something wrong with their child and get them. This is happening to this day. And then when people say, are you a pawn, like for Republicans? The reason why I think that people are asking that is because Democrats do create black pawns. They do have celebrities that will sit down with people and say, you're going to be advocating for the Democratic Party, and everyone's like, and I'm not trying to take any sides of like Republicans and Democrats. I'm just saying, why were people so much thinking that I was like a form of a pawn? And then the idea that liberals will say, like, the funny thing is liberals, I think, and I don't know if I could classify myself as liberal, but I'm definitely kind of liberal elite. I wrote my book from Dark Twisted Fantasy, like I've had some of the best writings, so that would put me in that class, so to say. But but I'm also just a purist. Like I see a Kenyan home and be like, that's beautiful right there. I'm not like I gotta have the one of the most racist things that liberals who pride themselves on not being racist have said to me is like you're gonna split the black vote, and that makes it seem like black people can't make decisions for ourselves, and that don't know white people know me. Like like only liberals. They literally make it seem like only black people will vote for me.
Right.
Think about that statement. The nuance of institutionalized racism, and this would be like somebody from the art world. You know what I mean? They just have a place where no one has really been able to embrace the idea of blacks not being in a block and staying in one place, or blacks having to vote. Yeah, or blacks have an opinion, like us not.
Oh, Gozu sono
us being
righteous.
like
I know that they
handlers,
should have the
black people being
righteous.
like,
Father,
work at a label,
Spirit,
work
and
at a
Lord.
big corporation. It's our job to go talk to the other black people, you know, to calm other black people down, but we're working for, you know, Universal or Vindy or whatever the organizations were. You know, I was thinking about buying my mask, and I realized that was too small. My universe. $33 billion organization. I'm one of the greatest product producers that ever existed. And I'm like 43 years old, $53 billion in debt. You know, 4 years ago. And now it's proven that I'm the new Michael Jordan of products. I went to Adidas and we were a $50 billion organization, losing $2 billion before COVID hit. Our market cap was $68 billion. I went to the Gap and our partnered with the Gap, and our stock jumped 45% in 2 hours. The organization made $2 billion in 2 hours, and now we've doubled. Our cap was lower than Yeezy. It was like $3 billion when I first got there. Now it's like $7-8 billion, and we haven't even released the product yet. But what I loved, I sat there and I did the deal without getting on the board, and I looked at my cousin, and I didn't want to sign the deal without being on the board. And I looked at him and said, I'm doing this for you. Meaning like this is part of a relay race. It'll just be a given that if someone of color was to your position, my position of influence would be on the board. But Michael Jordan had to break down walls, and Michael Jackson had to break down walls for us to break down the next walls. And the next walls are the boardroom. Because you know what the boardroom is? It's an opinion. See, people are fine for us to play basketball and, you know, rap and make clothes, but the society as it's set up is not really used to or fine with us actually having an opinion. And I can understand why, because what is our opinion based on if we grew up thinking we were slaves? What is it? If our opinion isn't based on, hey, my dad taught me how to run this company. You know, my dad is smarter than me, and everything he wanted to do, black people thought he was crazy, and he had to do it with white people who thought he was incompetent because he was black. And the way these companies and the way music industry, the way managers, and the way society generally looks at black people is the way like a misogynistic man looks at a hot lady. What can you give me? What can you do for me? No one, the misogynistic man not gonna look at a hot lady and say, can you run with me? So, you know, this idea of me, you know, and I got like, you know, I'm building my factory as a simplified design, and I was working with a guy that, that's helping me to, you know, build some of the factories. There was an older white gentleman, and he just matter-of-factly says, we were sitting at his house in Malibu, it's a nice day, he just matter-of-factly says, Adidas will never put you on the board. And I'm like, this wall has to come down. Like, how could you not have the guy that has the best ideas? So one of the great things with Universal, one of the approaches that we have is, you know, Universal, when Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre sold Beats by Dre. Universal had a chance to buy in or do different things. They sold it for $3 billion. That was half of the value of Universal. That's half of $6 billion. Due to the internet, which the music industry was afraid of in 2000, Universal now I think is worth $35 billion. And now they have another Steve Jobs, power hands here before Disney, Elon kind of character within their midst. But they're so concerned about the control idea of artists because they're using me as this artist that has attracted other artists. And also I used them. I got famous, made some money, I got to tour. I became this superstar, so we use each other. Now there's just an adjustment that needs to be made in a relationship. And I can make products that make more money than your person's worth. But it's not about the money, as I said earlier. It's about the fact that even though my net worth is $5 billion, I'm one of the most influential, God-fearing Christians on the planet. I still have to go to this man or this organization and ask him for something. And that is what it's about. You can have a company, right? When you go into your company's little thing because you got the money that you actually have the control. If you don't have the information and the knowledge of how the distribution works, and you're not having that conversation, you don't have the control. So what I did in my organization, with Universal, with Gap, and with Adidas, I told employers, managers, everything, no one can communicate with these organizations except for me. You can give me advice, but they gotta talk to the boss, which is me. And right there, you start to get the information flow. Guess who's my CFO? Me. So that means I do 10 to 15 transactions. What I do is I pay, because I had open credit cards, I had checks, I had people flying in and out. I had consultant agreements, like people who weren't on the salary, but they were consultants. I had, people paying for flights, hotels, cars, food, Netflix, like everything just running the account. Just even right now, I canceled all my credit cards except for one credit card. This is like the Oprah Winfrey moment where she's like, man, when I started spending cash, I was like, I really realized, how much I was spending, and now I sign all my own checks. And the thing that happens in the music industry and just a lot of industries, like people tell you that someone needs to do something for you. And it's like, look, this Siri, do everything for you can do, it's possible. And it's just when you ask me how do I delegate my time, it's important for me to delegate my time. If I made $210 million last year, and yeah, I have a lot of maverick ideas. I'm working on cities and homeless shelters and farms, and I'm reinvesting myself. So a lot of mavericks will, spend their money on their ideas, and they'll invest in what they see the future is. And I ended up with a net worth of $10 million. I remember, a month ago, people were like, you can't show your taxes because people don't understand that you're a billionaire if they see that you only netted $10 million last year. And after the Gap deal happened, my net worth went from $3.3 billion to $5 billion, and I've been asking the people around me to run the story, and they were going to run it with Bloomberg. They never ran it. I was not afraid of people looking at me like I was not a billionaire, and I said, be honest, show my taxes, show everything, and then the reports came back, oh, you're worth $5 billion. It came from me just being honest. When I want to say something about the Gap deal also, and specifically the name The Gap in my journey with that. Like, at age 16, I worked at the Gap. I always saw the Gap as like being the Apple of apparel. I always had this comparison with Steve Jobs. I always felt like I was the Steve Jobs of the Gap. It was something about how clean it was, and what Mickey Drexler had done in all these commercials. And like, at age 16, I was working at the Gap, and I got fired for stealing. And I was actually stealing khakis. I was stealing khakis from my friend. Funny thing, look, I stole khakis from my friend when I started doing music at age 19, 18. I went and bought a chain. I came home one day Didn't see where the chain was. Come to find out, my friend was smoking crack and it stole my chain. So the guy I was stealing for ended up stealing from me. It's khakis. I was stealing some Gap khakis. I wanted those khakis that bad. So then 27 years later, you know, I give my life to God and I start doing Sunday service. One of the things that I had to do for Sunday service, or I got to do, that was fun for me to do, was to design the wardrobe for Sunday service. And we would redesign T-shirts. And it says in the Bible that Jesus wore seamless garments. So we started building T-shirts where the seam was only here, or only 2 seams on the shirt, or moving it around, and what the neck was. And I made T-shirt after T-shirt after T-shirt. In Christianity, we say we stand in the gap. So watch this. This opportunity is presented. And I always had clothes that were kind of chill, like they could be in the Gap. They were not overly fashionable. And God said, you stood in the gap, and I'm going to have you stand in the gap for real. And I'm going to give you favor and increase. And I know I know somebody where all that designing T-shirts will come ahead. I literally was designing T-shirts for Sunday service like David working out in the field. You know, when Goliath came, they wanted one of his brothers, the warriors, to go up against Goliath, and his father chose David. And David said, I don't need all this armor. I just need these 3 smooth stones. I just need, you know, this is how I got to see. They didn't know David had to fight a lion and had to fight a bear. So God, by him tending to the field in humility and in service to God and honor to his family, he was able to have the skill set to take down Goliath. We hit the street. You know, it's a term that I had to learn. Wall Street. We hit the street like you never ever saw it before. I used to be in San Fran asking people to invest in me. Nobody would invest in me. When I went to a wedding in San Fran with all these billionaires and investors, angel investors, you should have seen people's faces. They were like, you jumped from the 3-point line. You ran a stock by 45%. You see, think about this. You're going to split the black vote. You can't vote for that. You're only a rapper. It's like all these things that diminish me. And now it's like Deadpool. Like I came back as like a superhero. And I won't let that be the kryptonite. I won't let my own ego be my kryptonite. I won't let other people's opinions be my kryptonite. I won't let these labels that people put on me be my kryptonite. And a lot of times I don't like to watch these interviews back until about, 3, 4, 5 years later, because I'm always, I'm visiting the now. I'm existing in the future and visiting the now when I'm speaking to you, and they make a lot more sense in the future because I can tell you, but he can show you. God can show you. So a lot of stuff I'm telling you. Some people are following me, some people are believing in it, and some people are just doubting it because they want to put this label on. He's crazy. It's just a black guy. It's just a rapper. It's just an entertainer. It's just I can say the most wild ideas out loud. It's like Stone wanted to be an anchor person, and I remember she said, "Ron, I told you I wanted to be." He said, "Yes, I heard you. I wrote it down." Veronica Corningstone had a very funny joke tonight, and every time I talk, it's literally like Veronica Corningstone having a very funny joke tonight. Like when I said I was going to run for president, it was like, okay, go ahead. Would you like to interject? Do you have thoughts and ideas also that you'd like to have be a part of your interview?
From people mad at you that you're splitting the black vote all the way to the Gap and all the way to Veronica.
But then I brought it back.
Yes, you did.
To the vote, to run it for
You
president.
brought it back to people doubting you and people putting limitations on you.
People are tuning in this podcast to go on the journey with us.
Yeah. So listen, they do or they don't. It's up to them. Yeah. But the beautiful thing is you're not listening to them. So listen, they do or they...
People are tuning in this podcast to go on the journey with us.
Yeah. So listen, they do or they don't. It's up to them. The beautiful thing is you're not listening to these people that are trying to put these labels on you and tell you what to do. And you're not saddled down by fear. You're not saddled down by doubt. You're willing to take these chances. If you did become president, what would you do that was different?
I mean, pretty much everything. I was just looking at the suits last night. I was like, yo.
What would you redesign?
I don't wear white anymore. No. They had a white shirt. They had I would redesign this. I will. It's not a would.
Right.
It's not an if. It's not an if. It's just when.
Right.
We got to start with the budget. I feel like, the fact that I went from being in debt to being, I don't even like the way it sounds, the multi-billion, because we think about Steve Jobs as money is like the least of what's awesome about him, and money is just a tool. Like, it's like nails. Like, I got the most nails.
Do you feel like it's scored on the scoreboard though? So it proves not just value, but it proves effectiveness.
Yeah, and it's like you're crazy till you're right. So it
Right.
proves in some way that a lot of the things I said that were crazy, I was actually right about. Yeah, looking at that budget, and I think that that's part of God's like training, like Mr. Miyagi, paint the fence, Karate Kid, Daniel's son. On that, I gave like the full description of the analogy, just in case people didn't.
What do you think you would do though if they come to you with talks about foreign policy?
People love talking about foreign policy. It's the number one question.
Yeah.
But when I talk about the budget, this paint the fence. The fact that I had to, that I have to understand $300 million of cash a year. That, you don't get trained for that. That's like astronaut training. Then I have to understand how to have multiple industries. That I have to understand how to build and house and provide. I provide people with healthcare. And I had this idea of doing this employee org where I put everything on my partners, on Universal, on the Gap, on Adidas. But I believe this is amazing training for me as a black person. There's people who have been raised to respect a penny. But as a black person, I've been raised to look down at a penny. But the people who really hold their money respect every penny. They respect the money. And it's interesting, I had an argument with one of my managers because I made my own travel ban in my organization because when I did Sunday service a month and a half ago, it was 25 flights coming in of people I didn't know. Because there's criminals in my organization trying to kill Bob Marley. Not to JFK or MLK me, but deplete my resources. So I created this travel.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that? Meaning, there's people that, okay, I fired this one CFO about 3 months ago, and up to a week ago, we still had an open ground. Because when I dig lower and go to it, it's like always like, is this the new person that's in charge of your money? It's like, no, I'm the new person that's in charge of your money. That's in charge of my money. So
that's why you became your CEO.
That's why I became, and it's the best, and it clears my thoughts, and it really helps me with design. It helps me as I'm designing what I'm doing at the Gap. It helps me how I'm designing the curriculum. It helps me in the way I'm designing the kitchen, the way I'm delegating, the way I'm working, the way I'm being a better leader, being a better listener. Basically, but there was some question you had. I was answering, and I gave it. Oh, before you went to foreign policies, I went to the budget. I said it's like Danielson painting the fence. The fact that I've had to really look at and understand that kind of money, and this God-given anointing, being a producer, being a head of industry, being a God-fearing and a servant of God, and a producer and head of industry at the same time. It's literally like the perfect combination for a president. And to be honest, I'm literally like every now and then, the world deserves a leader that they can 100% trust that whatever I'm saying to you, with the information that I have in front of me, I 100% believe that. Like, when I talked to when I was with the president of Haiti, and
how would you like to help Haiti compensated very well, all without ever leaving your own home? Hi, my name is Chan, and I'm feeling extremely grateful right now. A little over 4 years ago, I started building a simple officeless business agency. Now, I operate this thing from my own home. I'm with my family, and each month I get paid by over a dozen business to start in 2020 because it has little overhead costs, no employees, no inventory, no office, just a laptop and a phone. And it takes very little time to manage. The ads take a few hours to set up, and then they mostly run on autopilot. And the money is easy because I have clients paying me and my business partner anywhere from 14. Now, I didn't get to this point by myself. You know, I tried making this online thing before. I tried Amazon, Airbnb, affiliate marketing, network marketing, and I kept failing until I met my new Abdul. Now, him and his wife South Africa, so they moved to Charlotte.
Here's your new car!
You guys like to put in and show me the Now, my first year, my agency brought in a little over 150K in revenue. Not bad, but I knew I could do better. And so as I started to dial in the system, I was able to experience exponential growth. And last year, my office
Gave us an island, me and Shervin Pishavar, that was an early angel investor at Uber and is working on the Virgin Hyperloop right now. Really great friend of mine. He saved me. He's had me avoid deals where I was going to give up a percentage of my company for a third of the value and different things like that. So we go to Haiti, and the president gives us this island to develop, to make a city of the future. And also, we're going to have the farmers and the people who live there take take ownership of the land that they have right now. So when it raises in value, they all eat off of what the idea is. But he said that the way that he has done business with our president is so straightforward. I believe that I know that me as president would be the best thing that ever happened for America's foreign policy. I've traveled more than any president already, and I bring people together. I put Bibles on songs together to create masterpieces. I go and I empathize when I meet with leaders in Africa, when I meet with leaders in I didn't really have a good next thing. I wanted it to sound good. Leaders in I wanted to sound fire. But see, honesty. So when I meet with leaders, I'm not trying to go in there and see how they can use my internet. I'm not trying to go in there and buy up their land and develop it and buy it up for cheap. You know, we're going to share information. You know, we have an idea. We just had a dual citizenship for Americans with African descent. That the ability to create environments and communities completely can change the way people act. You know, if people are hungry, they're going to act a certain way. If they're poor, they're going to act a certain way. If they're away from their friends and family, they're going to act a certain way. They're going to need to. They're at a college, they're going to stop by this, friend party and drink and do that. But when they're but you got to go here, so then you could go there. And like society is all about dismantling the family. I see things being more like a kibbutz, or where the family can be as close and where the grandparents can be next to the children. And these ideas I have about how communities should be are worldwide simplified ideas, and that they're not based on industry. Even though I understand industry, they're based on serving God and serving families. And that's something that everyone across the globe, no matter what country in the world, whatever continent in the world, all of the moms and dads have something in common. They want the world to be better for their children. We all want the world to be better for the children. And we can show ways that we are not at odds. Think about the world is a giant piano, but we're playing off key. So for a producer to synthesize those ideas and not say, okay, we're going to I spent time in China. I spent a year in China when I was in 5th grade. I used to speak Chinese. Like, like I don't know a lot of, my mom was an English professor. They had an exchange program where a Chinese student could come to America and she would go which was there was like Chinese at that time couldn't come to America as easily. So there's America's greatest export is influence and culture. China actually has like imitation pears, they probably got imitation Calabasas. They probably do. At this point, the artists define culture. That's what makes there's an artist that designed the Statue of Liberty. There's an artist that designed the Eiffel Tower. This is the reason why I donated $100 million to James Turrell's Road and Crater project. When I went to, this is like the 8th wonder of the world, but I saw spaces that we can exist in that would be helpful for our health, our well-being. These are healthier places for us to be. We need to be like almost like Turellians. Like our life is like a Shakespeareans. Right? Like Shakespeare's written 30% of our language that we use. Like I said, like he must have been a really nice person. Like Da Vinci used to walk away from people when he would talk to people, and that's the reason why it's the Da Vinci Code and that's the Da Vinci life, because he never was able to get it across to the level to affect us for generations to come. These people love art, but they want to put art in the box. We need to surround ourselves with the artists, because the artists are the most connected, the most truthful, and their dinosaur never got killed. Somehow, the people who figured out how to make a living off art is...
What do you mean by the dinosaur never got killed?
Meaning, art class will be considered to be fun. Like every kid loves to draw, right? But some people got to grow up, and like the artists, in some way, don't have to. Yes. Like we're all children. We're all, if you're alive, you're a child. We're all children in God's eyes, and we're all young people. Like Jesus is an old person. Like he's old. Like Adam is old. If you're alive, you're young, and we're like children. And there's all these things, these sharp edges, these corners, these anxieties, these fears, these things put in our food, our diet, our diet of what we consume right here that turn us old and make us brittle and make us put that fear on our kids. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. We put these evils on our children. We put racism on our children. We put fear on our children. And the children are fearless. The children, it's funny. It's like Claudio Silvestri, one of our lead architects I worked with since age 24. He built this home in Mallorca with John Paulson, and he has like this golf course, which the acoustics are incredible, but it's this part where you can walk along that's 20 feet high. And I said, would you, what about the kids? What, you have a balcony, you have a banister or something? And he looked at me and said, they're smarter than we think. Wow. And meaning like, if we were never taught the missing banister theory, that we could all tightrope walk. The missing banister theory, I wrote it in my book, Thank You and You're Welcome, that I wrote with my friend Sakaya, that's actually here right now, that's that you were talking to earlier, is look, you could walk down a straight line without worrying about anything. But you take that exact straight line and put it 20 stories high. Now you know I'm going with it, and you're on the balcony. You're going to be so concerned about the idea of falling that it will make you fall.
Yep.
And that's where the superpower is in removing the fear. And it's also probably the first sound-biteable thing that I've said.
All right, let me talk to you about, so we're serious here. So let's talk about like real presidential issues. Let's talk about like, here's some things that when we talk about this country, here's some things that mean a lot to me. One, student debt. I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy if we take children when they're 17, 18 years old, we send them away to college, we make them literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and then we ask them to go out into the world and try to manage this money and try to get a job that's going to pay them a fraction of what they owe for their education. I think it's crazy. I think we should figure out a way to absolve student debt. I think we should figure out a way to make education, at the very least, far less expensive than it is now. This is a big issue.
Absolutely. I'm completely confident that I will figure out how to get America out of it. That I have the ability. Once I see everything, I never make the wrong decision when I'm given all the information. That's my skill set. Anything I go into, producing, rap, home, clothing, anything. Once I'm given the right information, I apply my skills, and I have the best skills. I mean, Quincy Jones. There's a couple people that's like, okay, Quincy Jones' taste might be better than mine. But if Quincy, could you imagine Quincy Jones as a president?
I could.
Yeah, or, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, like maybe some of these personalities. And, yeah,
But that's how it gets things done.
yeah. Like for America to be as warming and inviting as Disney, there used to be this come into it. They come into it. Yeah, like for America to be as warming and inviting as Disney. There used to be, this dream of, people still have this dream of coming to